Good evening, everybody, and welcome. Can you hear me? Really? You can? All I can hear is the air conditioner and the pump things behind me. It's a bit noisy down here, but I'm going to talk about that in just a little bit. How's everybody doing? I have missed you guys terribly. I really have. It's been a heck of a couple of weeks, and I'm going to explain that to you in a little while. But first, there's a lot of things that are going to go a bit wonky tonight. I had really hoped that I could have everything put together and working 100% for the first live stream, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. In fact, I've reduced my my equipment to just my laptop. I'm just talking to the laptop. None of the other stuff is connected. And the reason is I did this move rather poorly, to be honest. And I'm going to explain a little bit. I'm not going to dwell on it. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make tonight a Q&A, kind of. I'm going to pick your brains about where we are with the channel, where we're going, get your ideas, thoughts on what we've been doing, what we're going to be doing next, and just use this as a planning session. I am also going to complain about a few things, just because that's my nature, and I haven't complained in quite a while. So let me see. Can I be heard? Does anybody say I can? I don't think I've got the my back channel working. Is Alistair out there by any chance? Couldn't tell. But anyway, here's the deal. I moved from the south to the middle part, the Middle Earth, something like that. Midwest. That's where I am now. I arrived just in time for the tornadoes last night, which popped up and moved on, but yeah, it's a bit scary. We have them down there too, though. Fewer hurricanes up here. But the move I'll talk about in just a second, just as a cautionary tale, in case you ever decide to move your macro studio. I'll give you some pointers on what not to do. And then I want to talk just a little bit about the week ahead and the weeks that follow that. Let's talk about the week ahead first. I'm going to allow myself one evening to dwell on where we are now. That's what we're going to do tonight. And then we're going to get right back to work come Thursday. And in Macro Talk 2, we're going to be talking about variety, and how variety is really what keeps the blood flowing through your macro photography. It really does. And we're going to be talking about various ways that you can introduce variety into your macro photography in a way that isn't going to disrupt your goals, the things you've been working for all along, but it will add just enough interest to it that you'll be glad you did. It'll add some fun, and I'll give you some specific pointers on the things I do to add variety to my macro photography. I don't have a macro platform right now. I don't have a stage, and that is a very unusual place for me to be. I've always been between on one of them while I've had the other one working. It's very unusual for me not to have anywhere to take pictures, but that's the situation I'm in now. It's another result of the poor planning on my part, but it does rather complicate things. Because a lot of what I want to do involves using a stage, and I'm going to have to build something, but I don't want to just rush into it. So one of the things that we're going to be doing over the coming weeks is reimagining my macro platform. A lot of things have changed in the last few months, and as more of you have become more interested in high magnification stuff, I have been experimenting myself and exploring myself with some of the things that I could do that would help you in your high magnification journey if you're on one. And I know a lot of you are. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the process of making your own high magnification stacking system. Now that's a big deal. That's a complicated process that involves butchering a microscope and putting it back together in a way that will allow you to do things that a standard macro rail can't. Now I know this is going to be over the heads of some of you for now, probably not in the future, but it's going to be enough of a way out there in left field kind of subject that I don't want to concentrate it all into a month. So what we're going to do is, for those of you who are interested, we are going to go step by step through the process of building a high magnification, extremely accurate focus block stepping device made from a microscope. And I'm going to walk you through the steps all the way from finding the right microscope, making sure it's the right piece of equipment, getting it ready, servicing it so that it's in tip-top form when you start this process, finding the other parts that you need, the motors, the controllers, and then putting the whole thing together and testing it. It sounds like a very big task. It is a very big task. That's why it sounds that way. I knew there was a reason for it. But it's something that I think a lot of you would get a tremendous amount of pleasure from if you do any kind of DIY at all. And believe it or not, it's a relatively inexpensive project. And I'm going to do this while I am recreating my own macro stage. Now, I'm also going to be making a regular lower magnification macro platform, which I'm going to be doing right down here in the Bat Cave, as it will come to be known. And I'm also going to do that with you. So we'll have quite a bit of DIY in the coming couple of months. And what I may end up doing for some of the really esoteric stuff with the high magnification system, I may carve that out and do that on a weekend possibly, when we can do an extra live stream rather than take up time doing it in this setting. And I'm not sure I want to do it as a video series, but I might. Certainly it will become a video series, but I think it's something that would be more fun to do live. So all of that is coming, and until that arrives, I'm not really going to be doing a whole lot of studio photography, and that's a problem for me because I like to do that. But what I will be doing is making up for it by exploring my new surroundings and doing quite a bit of outdoor stuff. They tell me the summers, while rather hot here, I mean very hot is what I mean to say, aren't very long, measured in minutes possibly, or weeks, followed by a rather long period of winter. And what I want to do is get as much outdoor stuff done as possible during the summer. So we're going to be a bit more aggressive about getting outside with the camera and doing some things out in the field. I've already found a few very nice places, and I was going to show you some pictures tonight, but unfortunately technology got in the way. So I'm not going to be able to do that, but I have found some great places that have really interesting bugs. A lot of the things I really like actually seem to live up here. So we'll be doing more of that. Now this week, as I mentioned, we're going to focus on Thursday on getting some variety, and that's largely what I'm going to be doing with our outdoor stuff, is doing some things that are unusual for me and may not be something you've ever done before. For example, I found a place that has quite a profusion of beetles, my kind of beetles, the kind of beetles that are vicious and have large jaws. You know what I'm talking about. And did you see the Ant-Man's video, by the way, that came out? The Ant Lab, sorry, not Ant-Man. Ant-Man sounds like a superhero. No, Ant Lab. The chap did a video on tiger beetles, and it was also on other beetles, on how they fly. And it was narrated by a chap named Pera, who's got an interesting voice for narrating beetle videos, but it was very good. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I'll put a link in the description. But I found a place that has tiger beetles. Now, my previous place didn't. So we'll get out and we'll try to catch us some, and that'll be a lot of fun. That's the kind of thing I'm talking about, doing some different stuff. So before I completely lose track of where I'm going with this, let me tell you about this weekend, because there are a couple of things coming up that are important. On Saturday we have a Zoom meeting, which is a Patreon only Zoom meeting, face to face, 2 hours. We do it every other week. I had to miss one because of the move, but we won't miss another one, so we'll be doing this on Saturday from 10 until noon. And if you are a member of Patreon, you are automatically invited. And this is going to be a particularly enjoyable one for me, because we're going to continue where we left off a month ago, when we were getting to know one another. We were doing some introductions, and we're going to continue with that. I have a couple of people that I'm going to be reaching out to in the next couple of days to invite them to volunteer, to share some of their macro story, and show us some pictures, what they're doing, what they're interested in, what their direction is, and how this channel can help them. So that's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited about it. We did this before, and Mike Olson, who is probably here now, I haven't had a chance to look. Mike did just a fantastic job of presenting where he was and what he was doing, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what other people come up with. So that'll be on Saturday, and I'm also going to take a little bit of Saturday to show my Patreon folks all around the Batcave. The workshop over there, the space with boxes in it over there, the other space with boxes in it over there, the window behind me. They'll get to see all of this up close and personal. My goal is to have some of it plugged in and working by then. The current situation is minimal, we'll call it, and I'll be explaining why it's minimal and what I could have done differently to be more prepared for this in a little bit, but we'll get to that in a second, because there's something else I need to tell you about for this weekend, and that is, of course, Tangent. Tangent is Larry Strunk, and he is here because I saw his name. He's joining me, or I'm joining him. That is much more accurate. I'm joining him on Saturday after the Zoom meeting for Tangent. The Tangent, even. And that's our 3D modeling thing. Now, because of age, I suppose, and heat, I can't remember what in the world it is we're supposed to have done for our homework. So I'll have to find that out. The way I do that is by going over to Discord, going to the Tangent area, and asking Larry. So that's what I'm going to do. Larry will very probably put a note here in the chat to tell us what we're supposed to have done this last month, so that you can all be caught up. Now remember, if you have drawings, models that you want us to look at, because this is about 3D modeling after all, then you need to get those drawings to me, which is a bad idea, or Larry, which is a good idea, and you find him, like I just said, over on Discord. Go to the Tangent page. Larry will be there waiting for you with open arms, and he'll accept your 3D models so that we can have a good chuckle at them and then talk about them on Saturday. Larry, bail me out of this and tell me what it is I'm supposed to have done. I know that there was something that it was interesting and I was planning on doing it, but I haven't done it. And there's a very good chance I won't do it before Saturday, but I may stay up late and do that one night. So that's what's coming up this week. I've given you a broad strokes outline of what is coming up in the coming weeks and months, and I'm going to continue to do this using the platform we've already built, which is 2 live streams a week, possibly more as we get closer to doing the microscope build. And now's the opportunity that you have as a live stream attendee, YouTube follower, to tell me what you'd like to see in the coming weeks and months before the cold sets in. Now I have plans for the winter. There are lots of things that we're going to be doing when it gets too cold to go outside. That's all taken care of. But what do you want to do in the next month or two, while we have some nice weather, new place to explore, new bugs, and new not bugs as well? So now's your chance. Jump in, give me your thoughts. Now, competition. Did you see the competition results? You didn't. Okay, well, they're on my website. There is an article there. There is no video this time. The reason is technology. I don't have the that part of the studio set up yet, which means I can't find the camera. But yeah, we'll get to that. So I did it in writing, and you're probably going to think, well, gosh, that was very industrious of you to do all that judging and then write an article. Not really. It was only because Harold helped me that I was able to do it at all. Harold is our guest judge, Harold Hall, that is, our guest judge this month, and you know what the topic is, right? I can't remember. No, I can. It's something you found at the grocery store. In fact, I think I titled it, "It Came from the Grocery Store." So I guess it could theoretically be a bag boy or something, but let's stick with macro stuff that came from a grocery store. And that's what you're supposed to be photographing this month. My guest judge, who's going to make an appearance in the video and do the whole thing live, is Harold Hall. But he recognized that I was going to be in a bit of a bind this last month because my move fell right on the judging weekend. And he came forward and said, you know what, I can help you if you'd like. And he did. He helped me with the judging by doing a round of the judging himself. I did the same thing, compared the results, and it saved me a whole lot of back and forth and was able to come up with the winners. I should be able to tell you who the winners were so that I could congratulate them, but I am going to instead have to congratulate the winners and direct you over to my website, because for the life of me I can't remember who won. And yeah, I remember that Robert, who super chatted me in a most welcome way at the beginning of this live stream, I know that he was in the top 3 or so, which doesn't surprise me, but congratulations, Robert. And Tom was the man that won. He has a second name, Tom. I don't know what it is, but it's written down in my article. Congratulations. Your abstract photograph was absolutely perfection. And both Harold and I took one look at the entries and picked that one, both of us, immediately as the prototypical, just everything hitting all the right notes, an abstract photograph for a macro photographer to be proud of. So go over and look at that. It is actually the main photograph in my article. If you read down through that, you'll see his photograph. Absolutely beautiful. The thing about this competition that was a bit frustrating, I think, for me, a little bit possibly for Harold too, was there were a lot of photographs that really weren't abstract. They were good macro photographs, to be sure, but they missed the point of an abstract image. An abstract image is a photograph, or a painting for that matter, or a piece of sculpture, but we're talking about photography here. It's a photograph that focuses on the components of the photograph, not the subject per se. In other words, it's a celebration of the shapes and the colors and the textures and the shadows, the parts that make up the image, where the subject itself is not really important, or it's secondary to that. In fact, both Harold and I didn't really know what the subject was in Tom's photograph. I guessed that it was possibly the shell of some type of a mollusk, possibly, maybe not, but it didn't matter. What mattered were the vibrant colors, the clever repeating patterns, the beautiful use of light and highlights and shadows. It just was a very pleasing, very engrossing photograph. And if you've ever wondered what exactly is an abstract image, go over and look at that photograph, and you'll know. That's what an abstract image is. So several people turned in great photographs, but I just couldn't see them as an abstract image. Once I see the subject, it kind of kills the abstract feeling. Once I know what I'm looking at, I'm really thinking more about the subject than I am about the parts that make it up. But when I don't really know, I can focus all my attention on the beautiful symmetry, the color, the feel of the parts, and that's exactly what we got from this competition. The 10 finalists and the handful of honorable mentions all made very nice abstract images. So I don't want to make it out that Tom was the only person that took one. All the others were fantastic, and it was very hard to pick the second and third places. But definitely go look at them, and because we will do this again. I guarantee you, if I don't move again and lose the other half of my stuff, then we will be doing an abstract competition again, and I'll be pretty strict about judging it then too. The other thing I'll be strict about is the number of photographs you turn in. Now, because of a faux pas on my part, I never actually wrote in the official rules about you only getting one photograph if you have won the competition in the past. That's a new rule. I've talked about it now a bunch of times, and it is still the rule. But because I hadn't written it down, I felt a bit bad disqualifying people who weren't aware of that. So if anybody turned in more than one picture who is a previous winner of the competition, I did not disqualify you in that one, like I will in the future ones. But what I did was I only let you have one picture, and I took the picture that you submitted first. That seemed like a fair compromise situation. But from now on, it's written down, so if you've won the competition like Tom has now, you can only submit one picture unless I say differently at the beginning of the competition. This month it came from a grocery store. Now, do you want examples? We've done this before, and the examples have proved helpful to some people, so I'll give you just a couple. A tomato, okay, that would be an acceptable choice. Probably a bit on the big side, unless you just photograph part of it, but that would be acceptable. A paper clip. Now that's stretching it, but I know for a fact that my supermarket, grocery store, sells paper clips because I bought one there. In fact, I bought a box of several of them, so I know that they do have them. That would do. A lighthouse. Absolutely not. My grocery store doesn't sell lighthouses, and if they did, it would be too big. So lighthouses, out of the question. Same for bicycles. Smaller, you're getting closer, and some grocery stores, possibly in parts of the Far East, may also sell bicycles. But it kind of misses the point. So you need more? No, that'll do. Okay, good. So just remember, lighthouses, bicycles, not really. Paper clips, tomatoes, okay. Macro, close up. I'm letting you go 2 to 1, no, 1 to 2, so half life size and up, more magnification, okay? So do you understand what I'm saying? It's difficult, I know. Shall we talk a little bit about the move? What I did wrong, what I could have done right? Well, what I did wrong was I rushed it. What I did wrong was I didn't plan it. What I did wrong was I tried to cut corners in all the wrong places. And the result is this has proved to be a very stressful, very expensive move that has left me a shadow of the man I used to be. Not really. That last part, exaggeration. I may exaggerate during this just a little bit, but I did a lot of things wrong. First of all, when I decided, I decided a good long time ago that I needed to move. And I'm not going to get into why. It just was a carefully thought out plan that has been brewing for some time. So I was ready for that. I didn't know quite exactly where I wanted to be. I have ideas, but those ideas are going to take some funding. In other words, where I want to move is too expensive, so I'm going to need to save up some money, and it'll take some planning. So I thought, you know what, I'm ready to move away from where I was. I'm going to move to somewhere different to try for a period of time, and that's what I'm doing here. Now, I should have planned further in advance, because a few of the things that I did were foolish. Like, I threw everything in big boxes. I didn't throw anything. I carefully put them in big boxes. What I didn't do was think about the other end of the journey and the fact that I'm a busy guy. Instead, I thought, you know what, when I get there, I'll sort everything out when I get there. If you have a photography studio, or if you just have a house, think about what you're going to do when you start putting it back together. And I didn't do that. Instead, I grouped things into boxes so that I'd know where to find them. Now, when you have a studio that you do macro photography in, and a studio that you edit your photography in, and a studio that you shoot videos in and do live streams in, a box that says cables and wires is of limited value, because you need different cables and wires for each of those tasks. And when it came time to put together the studio, I was faced with massive boxes with just stupendous numbers of cables and wires, with no earthly idea what they all went to. That was the kind of mistake that I made, and that is something that comes from being hasty. What I should have done was pack together systems. Now, I was smart enough to take certain delicate things like all my cameras, all my lenses, all the stuff that is super important to me, and all the things that are particularly fragile, like 3D printers. And I put them in my car and realized I don't have a big enough car for all of those things. So I had to prioritize. Some things were just too big to fit in the car. My macro platform, as you know, is fairly huge. It has a large sliding platform on linear bearings, and it's driven from the side, and it has a lot of bulk. That is on purpose, so that it's a very stable platform. Too stable a platform to fit in the car if I'm going to be in the car as well. So this was one that I had to put on the truck. Now, there were two trucks, and they were both driven by friends of mine, good friends of mine, who are excellent drivers. That wasn't the problem. It was the first part, the putting on the truck, and I'll explain that in a minute. But my macro platform arrived in pieces, literally in pieces, and I was most upset. It wasn't the only casualty by a long way, and that was because, again, bad planning. Had I had enough time to think this through, and I was trying to move something as delicate and as important as my macro platform from one state to another, I would have disassembled it, and I would have packed each part separately and boxed it separately. Now, it probably would have meant what fit in one box would have had to go in 5 boxes, and it would have added to the hassle and the expense of the packing. But it would have meant I had a usable macro platform on the other end. As it happens, I didn't. It was heart-rending to see the thing kind of limping. Well, it was all saggy and broken. All of my scaffold was bent, and I don't know what they did to it, to be honest. It must have been dropped. So were some very expensive pieces of electronics. Were dropped and ended up upside down on the bottom of the truck. after being loaded by some professional people that I hired to do it. And here's one of the valuable lessons. If you're going to hire somebody to help you load up your truck so that you or a friend can drive the truck to where you're going, you need to have some consistency and use the same people at both ends, which means you need to probably think about actually having the move done professionally in the first place. Because when you have one group of people who are loading the truck and one group of people who are unloading the truck, there isn't a sense of ownership to that process, which kind of leaves gaps into which things may get tossed or dropped, and the thought being, well, it must have been the other guys that did it. And that seems to be where we are with a lot of this. There was far more damage than I've ever had with a move before, and this is absolutely, I know for a fact, not a result of the actual transit. I mean, these are lovely trucks. They were driven expertly by two expert drivers, and there's no evidence whatsoever that had anything to do with it. It was just the way that the parts were wedged together, and kind of rushed. Another thing, and this one is a mistake that I take full responsibility for. Well, I take full responsibility for all of it. I was the one that decided to do it, after all. But it was very clear to me that, first of all, I had too much stuff to fit in the trucks, and I had too much stuff to fit in the house that I was bringing the trucks to, because there just happened to be somebody already living in the house. So that should have told me right up front, okay, this is going to be tough, but I need to get rid of a lot of stuff. I knew that. I couldn't bring myself to do it aggressively enough. So when we started to see that the trucks weren't going to be big enough for all the stuff, then I had to make the decisions in a hurry, under the gun, so to speak. And the result was a lot of my stuff ended up in the landfill. A lot of stuff that I might not otherwise have chosen to throw in there. And this was a heartbreaking thing to discover, that a lot of the things that I equivocated on, should I keep, should I not, weren't going to fit, and I ended up desperate to just get it done, so things were thrown away. Things that I am now regretting throwing away. Too late though. It's all buried now underneath refrigerators and other things that ended up at the landfill. I also ended up having to leave stuff, and that was difficult. But let me tell you a story. I've told some of you, and I've put it in an article. You may have seen this. But after all was said and done, the trucks were off on their merry way up north, and I was left with the house to get it clean, to turn it back over to the owner, because it was a rented house. I had allowed an hour or two to do that, to sweep it and run the mop over it and wipe everything down and get it ready to go. But the movers had left a bit of a mess, and it ended up taking about 6 or 7 hours, the rest of the night, basically. And as I was going through the process, I was taking everything that had been left behind, looking at it, trying to decide, should I throw this away? Yeah, sure, I'll throw it away. But I found some stuff I couldn't throw away that had been left. A vacuum cleaner, for example. Well, actually 3 vacuum cleaners, 2 of which I did leave. But I crammed my car with everything else that I could fit in it, and what was left without room in the car, that was it. It had to stay. Well, I did that, and I was okay with the choices. And at 1 o'clock in the morning, it was all done. Time to hop in the car and start the long journey north to catch up with the trucks, which I never caught up with. I got in the car, and as I was preparing to pull out of the garage, which is similar to a garage, only more American, as I was pulling the car forward, something caught my eye up in the corner of the garage where I had put this thing for safekeeping. was my macro cage. Not my current one, my first one, my original. The thing that kind of got this channel going in the first place. The thing that a lot of us met over. We talked about your macro cage, and we examined the pros and cons of the one I'd built. But this was the original one, and it was hanging on the wall, and I had nowhere to put it. I had no tools to dismantle it. I didn't even have a ladder to get up there and get it off the wall. And I had to drive away and leave it. And that was probably the hardest thing that I had to do in this whole move, because that's an important piece of the history of this whole experience for me. But it was a damned important lesson, and that was these kind of things, these moves are not something to be undertaken lightly. They're a big deal, and it's an opportunity, sure, to reorganize, to clean things out, to decide what's important and what's not. I agree with all of that. But it's not a good time to rush. It's not a good time to be impulsive. And I learned that lesson the hard way. And the cost for me was that macro rig. I did at 1 o'clock in the morning. I didn't even have anybody I could call and say, "Would you come and pick up this thing and then mail it to me?" It was I thought through all the options, and there just wasn't a way to take it. The new inhabitant of the house is probably looking at that and wondering what kind of mousetrap it is anyway. So yeah, it means a lot to me, but probably to nobody else. I'm incredibly grateful to the people that have supported this move. Far and away, the most gratitude goes to the two people who took time out of their work schedule and drove these trucks for me after helping load and unload the things on both ends, gave up fully a week of their life to do the most thankless task possible. So to Pat and Laura, thank you so much. You are incredibly generous with your time, and your support made this possible. The same goes for all of you who have given me a couple of weeks off to get this behind me and get the move finished. And I know you're expecting me to do a slightly better job of landing on the other end, but don't worry, we'll get there before long. So thank you to you. And those of you who have actually come forward and tossed some money at the problem, thank you very much for that. This proved to be a lot more expensive than I thought it would, but thanks to your generosity, especially my Patreon folks, I think I'll probably be able to piece it all together and make it work. So I appreciate everybody, I really do. And this is a new start for me. It's going to be a good one. I think that we're going to get a lot of new ideas up here, and then whatever comes next, I'm going to do a better job of. I might even record the next one so that you can see I am going to do a better job of it, that I have learned something. I've already promised myself that none of these boxes that I'm not going to show you, because it's embarrassing how little I have actually done, none of these boxes are getting put into a storage mode until I've gone through them and done a proper job of throwing stuff out and keeping only the things that are important. So that's where we are. That's the move, and that's the 837 steps that I was telling you about. There's a lot more to it. There's a lot more things I could have done better, but I'm not going to belabor the point. I think you probably know what they are. If you've ever moved, you definitely know what they are. So I'm going to pause and give you guys a chance to ask questions about anything you want, really. This is your live stream. If you have questions about what's coming up this weekend, how to get in touch with Larry Strunk, I can answer that one easily. You just leave him a message in chat because he's here. Anything at all, ask your question and I will answer it. Now, if you happen to be Robert Stowrost, you get to ask that question first and everybody else has to wait while I answer it because he super chatted me. If you want to be catapulted to that kind of fame, you could also super chat me, but you don't have to. It's a thing. A super chat is where you You actually give money to me and you get nothing. You get nothing in return for it except my gratitude and an answer to your question. So let me see if Robert has asked a question, actually, because that should be the first thing I do. Oh, Robert deals with moving companies occasionally through his job, and to be honest, they just don't care. They're overworked, underpaid, and their bosses don't care about them. Well, I think my guys cared. I do. I think they cared as much as you can care for the other guy's stuff. Nobody cares about my macro rig like I do. To them, it probably looked like a piece of junk, because really, to almost anybody else in the world, it is a piece of junk. To me, it's a precision tool that I can't do my photography without, but they don't know that. I think they cared. I think they cared as much as anybody would care in 105-degree weather, where the job was taking hours and hours of in and out of the house with loads that I couldn't have carried. I just couldn't have carried them. So yeah, I think they cared. Not as much as you or I would have done, but as much as I think I had a right to expect. I'm not blaming them. I'm not making. This is not a complaint about the movers. This is a complaint about the mover. This one, about not doing a very good job and paying the price for it. So yeah, it's not about them, and it's certainly not about the people that pitched in to help. Not at all. No, it's just about when you do. My dad used to call this a lazy man's burden. That's not a very good example of a lazy man's burden, actually, because I wasn't lazy during any of this. We all worked our tails off. But where you cut corners, you end up paying for it, and that's what the lazy man's burden is. When you don't do the hard work up front, you end up doing more work later on anyway, and that's really what this is going to be about. When it's all said and done, it'll cost me more to fix it than it would have done to do it right in the first place. But you know what? I'm human, and I was eager to get this move done. I was eager to get on with it. I'd planned it. It seemed long enough. Apparently not. Live and learn. Let's see. Who's got a question? Now, for some reason, who called this the macro bunker? I love that. That's what it is. From this moment on, forget the bat cave. It's the macro bunker. And that's in Telegram, but hang on, my pointer's not doing the right thing. Most of the Telegram was cut off. There it is. It's David Brown from Maine, which I'm sure is very nice at this time of year, David. He's the guy that has coined the phrase macro bunker, and so it shall be. So it shall be written, indeed. The macro bunker, that's it. Summer is half over, Amy Furman points out. Amy, you're right. And I must say, I'm rather glad, because it's as hot up here as it was down there. It's melty up here. Things are supposedly going to get nice in the next few days. It's going to drop into the mid-90s, which sounds balmy. So looking forward to that. I am going to be getting out and exploring. They have a tree here. Well, they have actually got lots of trees here, but there's one in particular called the Catalba tree or Catawba tree. I couldn't quite make out what he was calling it, but it's a tree that looks like a kudzu growing out of a tree, and it has these beans on it. I can't show you how long they are because they're longer than my screen is tall, but they're ginormous, great big things. Has anybody ever seen one of these? It looks strange, but they attract some very interesting insects. I want to tell you about. You have to use your imagination because I can't actually show it to. Well, maybe I can show it to you. Just hang on 1 second. Let me see if it's possible for me to show you this picture. I was so thrilled. I was out there on this Catalba tree. Oh no, hang on a second. It wasn't on that tree. It was under that tree. It was a different plant, a milkweed, I think. But I was looking under leaves for things to photograph. and I came across what looked like a cluster of eggs. Now, if you know anything at all about my friend Rick Littlefield, he will never leave a cluster of eggs on the underside of a leaf without gently prying one off and taking it home to raise it as a baby. Whatever is inside the egg, he'll raise it and suckle it. I don't think he actually suckles it, but he brings it to full maggothood to see what it is. And he did this. Go over to his site. Go over to PMN, photomicrography.net, one of the best websites in the whole world, and read his most recent article where he raised some eggs to only to discover that they'd been taken over by these armor-plated wasps instead of what was supposed to be inside the eggs. You just go look at it, because these wasps are the most incredible thing. I've never seen them before, but he showed me the pictures a while ago. You need to check it out. I saw these eggs and I thought, well, I need to do what he would do, and I need to take some of these back home, not to my home. I wouldn't bring insect eggs into my home not knowing what was going to hatch. But this is Laura's home, so it's okay if I do it in the basement and don't tell her. So I thought, well, I'll do that. But I took a picture of them first in situ as they were, this cluster of eggs, and I noticed that they were being patrolled by ants, big ants. They were going round and round, then the ants would stop and go over to the eggs and give them a good looking at and prod a few of them, then go back to marching around in circles. And I thought, that is the oddest behavior for eggs and an ant. So I looked at the picture and blew it up a little bit, and it turns out they weren't eggs at all. So I couldn't take them home to hatch them. Do you know what they were? You've already guessed this, right? They're aphids. They were tiny aphids that the ants were farming. They were. They had them in their little corral, and that when the ants stopped to look at them, he was actually tickling their, well, I shouldn't go into sordid detail, but tickling part of them so that they would produce the stuff that they produce that the ants like. I shouldn't give you the details because children might be watching. Their parents should be locked up if they are. But anyway, it's very it's what ants do to aphids. They farm them, and I could not believe, I'd never seen it before, but they actually had a cluster of them. And I'm going to try to find the picture, because otherwise I'm sure you think I'm just making this up. I'm not making it up. I've heard about it, and I've seen them wandering among aphids on stems before, but I've never seen the aphids concentrated into basically a ranch, an aphid ranch. If you saw the cover art, by the way, to this live stream, you'll notice I did a focus stack photograph of a bridge. It's an ancient bridge from the 1920s, and it's got these enormous iron rivets going up it. And that's what I photographed, and that's what you see on the cover of this live stream. But the plant that I was photographing that had the aphids on it is off to the right at the far end of that little parking lot area. So just so as you know, that's where it was, in the shade down there. And I'm still looking for it, because I'm bound and determined to show you this. Hold on just a second. It was one of the last things I photographed, so I know roughly where it should be. I also photographed a Polistes wasp in flight. Have you ever in your life done anything as boring as hear somebody else describe the photograph that you can't see? Well, that's what I know. That's what I'm doing. But let me see if I can get to this this little farm. I'm getting closer. I'm on the right plant now. Oh, I also saw my first live Japanese beetle, by the way. They were pretty much all over the place, and yeah, they're very common down here apparently. So what time is it? Oh, I've got 10 more minutes to hunt for this farm. You've probably already seen this so many times that it means nothing to you, but I'm still going to show it to you. So it's exciting to me that there are things down here I've never seen before. I thought I'd seen it all. Okay, I've found ants and aphids. I will show these to you. It's not the ones I'm looking for, but I will at least show you these ones. I haven't even looked at these pictures yet, so forgive me. I'm going to switch screens. Well, it's still got me on there. I didn't do right. Let me, oh dear. I've done the thing that you should never do, and I pressed the wrong button. Hang on a sec. Here it is. So we've got ants and aphids right here, but that's not what I was talking about. I've actually got them flat on a leaf, all spread out. Hang on. It keeps. But I do believe that somehow my pointer has become attached. It has. Okay, I don't know how to fix this. This is a new problem, so we're going to go back to not doing that anymore. For some reason, Lightroom is attached to the end of my pointer, and I can't do anything without it dragging all over the place. So I'll do this off screen and see if I can't find the little patch of aphids on the leaf, and then I'll give up. Yep, it doesn't look like I'm. Oh, I just found the flying. I just found the flying Polistes. I'll show you that instead. Oh, no, I won't. There it is. Look at that. Isn't that a beautiful wasp? Very magnificent, and it's not one I've ever seen before. Our Polistes are mostly red, and red paper wasps. This is a very striking guy. He's about half the size of the big ones we have, and he's got these distinctive red dots. Does anybody know what this is? Probably it's called a northern Polistes or a Illinois Polistes. No telling. I'm not going to try clicking on anything else on that page in case my pointer sticks to it again, but I will see if I can find something else interesting to show you. So this is fun, getting to explore new things in a new area, but I do want to show you these aphids. I think I found the leaf. I found the leaf, and I found the ant. And you know what the ant's protecting them from? You can't see it yet, so let me find the one that's partially in focus. Yeah, okay, here we go. So this is the farm that I found right here. There's the ant that has just finished tending to his flock, and there are big ones and little ones, but I can't enlarge it for some reason. Nope. Ah, yes I can. So you can see this is not in focus, but they are in fact aphids. Ooh, that's terribly out of focus. Let's see if we can get the other. That's better. So they're all different sizes, but they are actually aphids, and they've got the little tubes on their bottoms and everything. And this ant just goes round and around, goes in, gives them a tickle, and then does it again. So no eggs to harvest. I did find this, looks like a parasitic wasp, or possibly a fly actually, a little hard to say. This guy was also very interested in the aphids, but I think he was just trying to eat them. He had a couple of them off to the side. Anyway, I don't want to read too much into what was going on there. I'll check this out with my friend Rick tomorrow and see if he agrees that that was an aphid farm. He'll probably say, no, that was a cluster of eggs. You should have taken them home and hatched them to see what they would deliver. But yeah, that would be just my luck. Anyway, that's what we're going to do in the coming weeks. We're going to go out there together, see if we can find some tiger beetles and hunt them down. That'll be fun. They're very hard to catch, unless you live in Canada. Apparently they're easier to catch up there for some reason, probably something to do with the cold. I'm going to see if Tangent has left me any cryptic messages about what my homework was supposed to be this time. Let me see, it'll probably be up near the top. You know, let me see. Oh, I'm glad to see that Bud Parrott is here, and he is talking to folks about linear profiles and auto buttons and all that type of stuff. Did you guys come to the festivities this last Saturday? We had a really good after stack, which is our post-production roundtable workshop type event that Bud Parrott and I do every other Saturday. Great fun, lots and lots of stuff to learn. The video came out from that live session today, early this morning, so that's now available if you want to go watch it. It's free. If you want to come to the event, it's free too. And Bud just is first class. He gives lots and lots of detail, very helpful, very enjoyable hour and a half. So put it on your diary. 2 weeks from now, another after stack with Bud and I. Let me see. So, hey Klaus, good to see you, sir. I need to talk to you, and I will get in touch after this live stream. So, thank you for reminding me to do so. Let me see. Again, thanks to Robert for the very generous super chat. Do appreciate it. And Robert actually lives up here. Don't you, Robert, or do you live somewhere else? You live near here, right? In this general area of Middle Earth. You need to give me some advice on, is this warm enough for the whole of the winter, do you think? I've got a t-shirt on as well as a shirt. I think that should be fine. Let me see. Field macro is Michelle's jam. Well, we're gonna jam this summer. Yep, I'm gonna be doing lots until we get everything built up. A microscope focusing block is the basis for my manual stacking rail at the moment. Is it, Russ? Okay, well there you go. It is the most fun you will have with a broken microscope, unless you use it as a weapon. I suppose could be more fun, but I recently finished reconditioning an Olympus BH2. Took the whole thing apart, completely reassembled the focus block itself as well as the coaxial focus mechanism. It's a very complicated, hair-raising task that is tremendous fun if you're into that kind of thing. And once you get the thing put back together, it is better than it was when it rolled off the factory floor. Smooth as butter. And that's the first part of building one of these things, is doing a bit of sawing to cut out the focus block, and then reconditioning the focus block to get all the old grease out and get it running at 100% performance, so that you can attach a motor to it and get some crazy fine steps. When I say crazy fine, I'm talking about using a 400 step per revolution motor and driving this smooth microscope focusing block at steps of about 1/10 of a micron. 1/10 of a micron is a very short step indeed, and you can do that because of the gearing that is already built into the fine focus block of these good microscopes. Now, the idea is you buy a broken microscope that is being sold for parts. You just make sure that the bit that's broken is not the focus block. And yeah, oftentimes it is, and you have to work around some broken parts. The one I'm working with now, the pre-focus lock mechanism on it was actually broken. And I've had to 3D print another part to replace it. But we'll go through all of that, and it's so much fun, and you'll learn so much about microscopes, and you'll end up with a thing that is way more accurate than the very best rails out there. Seriously, you will. And if you've had any interest at all in getting into high magnification, this is something you absolutely need. There are no commercially available rails that will give you the step lengths you need for 50 and 100 times magnification, or any other high magnification objective. So it's going to be a fun project, and even if you don't want to build one, you should come and watch, learn about the microscope, and see how all this is done. You may change your mind. You may want to do it after all. So congratulations again on the the competition results. Tom's picture really was a cracker, and I do urge you to go take a look at it. David Brown thinks that I am on the lam from the Macro Police. This is not correct. The Macro Police and I are on good terms, as we always have been. And if they say differently, they're mistaken. So, yep, not a thing. We're definitely cool. I'd like to see more wide-angle macro in the field while the weather holds. What a good idea! That was a lens that survived the journey, and I would like to do that. You know what? That's a cracking good idea. So good, I'm going to write that down on my pad of things to remember. No, I'm not. I just broke the only pencil that I had. Did you hear it go pop? Wide angle macro. Yep, you're on, Mr. Builder. That's a very strange name. No, Building, sorry, was your first name. Center is your last name. Mr. Center or Mrs. Center. Building Center. Did your parents not like you at all? That's an odd name to give you. But that's rude of me to say that. I should have kept that to myself. All right, let me see. Who else has asked a question? Nobody? That's good. It's just a lot of interesting chit-chat back and forth about this, that, and the other, which is what I like and encourage. So keep going. Let me see. Robert says, oh, Robert lives in Arlington Heights. I can say that because he just said it. That's somewhere near here. In fact, I think that's in Chicago, is it not? Which is 2 hours up the road from here. And you guys got hammered by the weather that we just narrowly missed last night. Oh, yeah, that's what you're talking about. Oh, hang on a second. William's over there too. William Bromer. William, welcome. Welcome to my state. No, the other way around. You welcome me to your state. Good point. Oh, my heavens. Somebody lost the roof to their police station in yesterday's storm. Good grief. I am so sorry to hear about that. My goodness, I was joking away. I hadn't read down far enough. Peter, happy, joy. Must have missed the weather. And yeah, boy, I hope everybody is safe. And yeah, that should have been my opening comment. It really was a bit scary last night. Yeah, these storms are getting very serious. But if you are in the Illinois area and you narrowly escaped damage last night, I'm glad. And if you didn't, my goodness, let me know. And if there's anything I can do, I will. Anyhow, I'm going to read through Catalpa. I have been corrected. What did I call it? Catorba? Typical. Has caterpillars that are great for fishing, says Bud. Okay. Didn't know that. All I saw was stink bugs crawling up and down it. Lots of leaf-footed bugs. That's what they were. The ants are farming them, as I was right. They feed off the honeydew that the aphids excrete. Indeed they do. That's what I didn't want to say out loud, lest it upset somebody's sensibilities. But they do. They tickle their butts until they produce honeydew, and then they slurp it down. It's just, I don't know what's in honeydew, but it better be awfully good for the ants. Okay, all right. Okay, Klaus, I'll mention this to you when we talk, but I found a slime mold, a chocolate tube slime mold, and I photographed it. Can you believe it? You know where I found it? It was on the tree limb that fell and almost hit my house the day I was leaving. It fell the night before, and when I went out in the garden, it was stuck in the ground, and halfway down it was a chocolate tube slime mold. So I cut it off, and it's still alive in my terrarium. So, not everything bad. There was some good stuff. David says he commends my computer desktop. Oh yeah, yes. You mean the large number of things on it? That was an accident. I need to get rid of them. I'll sort it out before the next time I accidentally let you see it. Okay, I do not remember the phrase, does it play in Peoria? I will look it up though and learn what it means. And yeah, that's it. We're out of time. It's 1 minute past. And this was fun. And who said they smell a gathering? I think that's a good idea. Who else is in Illinois besides me and Robert and yeah, who else? Raise your hands. Let's get together. Let's get together and do a video outdoors. Is anybody up for that? You're only 2 hours away. We meet halfway. Is there anything halfway between Peoria and Chicago? No? Nothing? A vacuum? All right, that's what we're going to do. Let's make that happen. Robert, you pick the time. Tell me what to bring. Camera, okay? I'll bring the camera. All right. And I never did see if Larry told us what the homework was. I'll figure it out. I'll go back and read the notes. You've been able to read them as I've been going. I've been trying to think of what to say next. So I will see you on Thursday, and on Thursday we will be more organized. I promise. No, I don't promise. I'll try to be more organized. Until then, take care, stay safe, and be well. And thanks for twiddling your thumbs for the last couple of weeks. It's good to be home. Good night.